How you doing this morning? We're here at the Exodus Institute, and what we want to do today is start talking more about how we can unify our communities, how we can all come together, how we can spread peace and love throughout our communities, our villages, and be able to take those type of things to the aldermen, the mayor, our congressmen, the state reps, and we want to highlight and give spotlights to other individual community activists that's out there and people that's in the community that would like to have a platform to come on Omnibus Roundtable, the Exodus Institute, to be a part of the T.R.I.P.S program, the television, radio, internet, our podcasting services, and a host of other services that we have and we teach right here at the Institute. We want our children to be knowledgeable how to see themselves in front of the screen as well as behind the screen, because the person that writes the scripts is the ones that whoever writes the book, you'll be able to publish your book and get people to follow your documents or your dogma or documentations that you may have and want them to follow. So we want to start teaching our children how to see and train them on how to show themselves in a positive light, a positive perspective, so they can go on and create their own jobs, create their own environments, to bring them out of the situation they're in whatever town they may be in, to go on and promote themselves through the internet, through social media or television, radio, and internet type services, and to be able to show themselves in a positive image. So right here, we're here today with individual guests that we have today that we want you to get a chance to meet, and they're going to tell a little bit about themselves and how they got started, what motivates them to do the work that they do, and what other organizations they're partnered with and collaborate with, so that we can get an understanding of who's in our community and what resources we have to offer in the communities that we serve. So can you guys, ladies, introduce yourselves?
Thank you, George. I am Biennia Burford Berry. I am with the West Side Heroin Opioid Task Force. We are a partner with Prevention Partnership. The West Side Heroin Opioid Task Force was convened in 2016 by State Rep. LaShawn Ford, who saw that the opioid crisis was coming to our community and decided that action needed to be taken. So he convened our task force with our leaders, Luther Size as well as Lee Rush, and then they got a team of people together to go out into the street to, as you learn later, teach Narcan, because Narcan saves lives. That's the mission of our task force, is to save lives from people who are overdosing from heroin or opioids. And then I would like to introduce my colleague here.
Hello, my name is Brianna Allen. I'm also with the West Side Heroin Opioid Task Force, and today I'm going to be doing a training on Narcan, or the nasal spray. So this is what Narcan looks like. It does come in two forms, nasal and needle, but I'm going to train about the nasal today. The first three things you want to do before giving this dose to anybody is check for symptoms, check to see if that person is unconscious, and call paramedics. What symptoms look like on a person who's overdosing is dark purplish blue lips, pale skin, abnormal breathing, unconsciousness, and sometimes their eyes might roll to the back of their head. A way to check to see if that person is unconscious is to get your knuckle and rub their sternum. If they respond to this, they're more than likely not in an overdose because they're responsive. They can feel pain if you rub your knuckle against your sternum, so that's a way to check. And you also, the last thing you want to do is call paramedics first before giving the dose to anybody. And when talking to paramedics, you don't really want to say that this person is overdosing specifically, just because the overdose rate is already so high as it is. They may take their time to get to the scene, and sometimes intentionally. So you want to say something like, this person is not breathing or unconscious when speaking with paramedics, instead of saying overdosing, just so they come with a sense of urgency. After those three steps, you're ready to give the dose now to the person, and you also want to make sure that that person is laid on their side and not their back or anything, or on their stomach. You don't want them to choke or anything, so make sure that person is turned on their side. After those three things, you're ready to give the dose now. You just hold down one nostril, you insert, and then you push up. It's just like a nasal spray, so you're pushing up that pink, and it'll spray right up their nose. Wait 2 to 3 minutes to see if they respond off the first dose. If not, give the second dose in the opposite nostril. Do the same thing. Hold down, insert, and push up. If they're still unresponsive, paramedics should be at the scene by then. That's why you want to make sure you're calling paramedics first, in case that person doesn't wake up. If they do wake up, they may be a bit aggressive though. You still want that person to leave with paramedics, but if you can't get them to leave with paramedics, if they do wake up after giving them Narcan, then don't worry about it. You still did what you could at the end of the day. We don't want anyone to hurt themselves. But you do want to let paramedics know how many doses of Narcan you've given that person. And that is all.
Right. That's the Narcan training. Why do you do this work, Brianna? You're so young doing it.
I do this work. I guess I have a passion for my community, just helping out my community in any way. And yes.
All right. The West Side Heroin Opioid Task Force employs people who live on the West Side, because we know that living on the West Side is about being in trusted relationships with people. And so when we are West Siders taking care of each other, we are more likely to enter into talking about our substance use disorders as well as recovery with each other versus people who are not in our community. Then also too, we hire people with lived experience. I'm a person with lived experience. My drug of choice was alcohol. I am in recovery now. I went to a West Side recovery facility called Above and Beyond Family Recovery Center. It's off of Lake in California, as well as now I work for the task force with reversing overdoses. One thing that to add to Brianna's training is that also too, if someone's sitting in a chair, you don't have to lay them down on their side. You just keep them in the chair and then you put the doses up their nose. And it does not harm you if you are under the influence of other drugs. So if you're you're alcohol intoxicated, and that's the reason why you are out and drowsy, spraying Narcan up the nose does not harm that. As well as, say, if it's cocaine or anything else related, it only deals with opioids and heroin, which is an opioid. Fentanyl, and then there is a new unadulterated drug on the market causing skin lesions, and that is xylazine. It's called Tranq or dope. So Tranq or dope is not affected by the Narcan, but fentanyl as well as opioids. What else I want to say regarding the West Side Heroin Opioid Task Force. If you have any questions, if you want training, we offer this training and we offer Narcan to all organizations on the West Side free of charge. 10 people a day in the state of Illinois die of overdoses, and overdoses are unintentional, right? People are not planning on dying of overdoses. So it is important that if you are a person that uses drugs, we're not here to offer judgment. We want you to stay alive until you decide you're ready for treatment and recovery. We are here for you because we understand it's a journey, it's a process to get into recovery. And so we want you to stay alive. So that's the reason why we encourage people who use drugs to have Narcan on them, as well as a harm reduction practice is not to use alone. Use with a friend, use with the community when you are together so that they can administer Narcan if they see that you are headed towards a fatal overdose. So it's so important to use. Harm reduction is just like wearing a seatbelt. It's like wearing suntan lotion to block a suntan. It's just another tool to help you stay safe, stay alive for another day.
As you can see, we have a lot of information here to be disseminated out into our audience and everything. And we want to ask if the audience has any questions that they want to ask the guests, please feel free, as well as the studio audience. If there's some questions that you have, you can always call on them at the bottom of the screen, and they have information that they will give out that you can contact them directly if you like. But we're here to help you get whatever type of services from our communities that you need. There's plenty of resources in there. All you have to do is reach out and be part of the connection that'll help change our communities.
Oh, and Mr. George, you reminded me, we do work with Family Guidance. We work with the UIC, Community Intervention Outreach Program. We work with Thresholds. We work with
Hope Foundation.
Hope Foundation.
Haymarket.
Haymarket. All the organizations to help our people to get into recovery. So we do warm handoffs in the process. And we're out in the community 6 days a week, and we have 3 shifts that cover the community from 10 to 2, and then we have an evening shift from 3 to 8. And most of our funding comes from the state of Illinois, as well as the city of Chicago. So our city and our state does care about us.
Okay, I have a question. I'd like to know, at what point do you need to administer that? If you see them falling, unconscious, wobbling,
Want to answer that, Brianna?
So after you recognize the symptoms, which is dark purplish blue lips, pale skin, abnormal,
What did you say?
dark purplish blue lips, pale skin, abnormal breathing, unconsciousness, and sometimes their eyes may roll to the back of their head. Once you recognize those symptoms, excuse me.
Not if they're just walking in high.
No, if they're just walking.
Yeah,
they're
in the
fine.
overdose, they're unresponsive, so they won't be walking in.
They don't run up to somebody and just put it in their nose like it's a nasal spray.
Just before they get to that point.
But yeah, after you check for those symptoms and check to see if they're unconscious with the knuckle and sternum rub, then that's how you know when to administer the Narcan to that person.
Yes.
If you see a person and you know that they're in this fixed state of being, how do you know if they have taken Narcan, cocaine, alcohol, overdose? How do you know the difference? Because you were saying that T.R.I.P.S is not technical.
Yeah.
So how do I know a T.R.I.P.S person as opposed to a fentanyl?
Good question. You want to answer that?
Oh.
Okay, I can
Yeah,
answer it.
I can't
It really, honestly, is once you know that they're unconscious and you do the sternum rub, and then you administer the Narcan. If they don't rouse, usually there's some sort of rousal out of it. You know they probably have some sort of opioid or fentanyl or heroin in the system, right? Then if you administer the second dose, you know that it is that in their system. If they're overdosing because of something else, this won't harm them. So giving it to them won't harm them at all. It won't harm, actually, if you see teenagers, or little kids, it does not harm you, because what this product is, Narcan, is that all of us have opioid receptors in the brain. So we're already created with this need to, God has created poppies, right, and opioids, right? And they were supposed to be used for surgery when people are dealing with pain, but we have used this for something else now. So opioid will go into the receptor, right, and then that creates the high. What Narcan does is it blocks that opioid from going in, and then it takes the place, and it's only there for 90 minutes, right? And then after 90 minutes, actually, the opioid will come back into that receptor. However, what's great is that you are now able to breathe and able to assess yourself, and you know that you've like have come into an overdose, so you sort of are more aware. So it's so important that when you witness someone overdosing and then you administer Narcan, that you wait for them, they get them to stay until the ambulance comes, because we've been trying our best to educate those who use drugs, like, don't go and use heroin because your heroin is not gone. It's just been blocked for a period of time so that you can regain your breathing back and you can be revived. So it doesn't take the opioid out your system. It rather blocks that receptor. So, good question. Yeah. Yeah.
So, do we have any more questions from the audience?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that question, how can you determine which drug that they use in order to put that to it?
Yeah.
Where do you get that from, the product? Where do you-
Oh, we could actually bring you some back. We have it at our agency, but we table out on Chicago Street all the time. So whenever you see us out, the Westside Heroin Opioid Task Force, we will give you Narcan, but we can bring you back here. There's also newsstands that are out now with Narcan in it on Jackson and Pulaski. We go to those high traffic areas to put the Narcan out. Most of the people who now that we're encountering, since we've been out on the corner for since 2019, know what to do. So the people who have substance use disorders sort of know what's going on, and they are saying, yes, we need Narcan, because the newsstands, we fill them up, and then the Narcan is gone within a few days. So people know, they're aware of how to save lives, save each other's lives. Yes.
I heard that they would be putting the Narcan in like dispensaries
Yes.
on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Does that encourage abuse?
Good question. Studies have shown that people who use drugs really need a set of therapies, need a set of strategies in order to go into recovery. And people who use drugs usually is rooted in some sort of childhood trauma. And until that is dealt with, until we create healthier childhoods for our people, we are going to have people that will have substance use disorders. Because we have not, I know I had a traumatic childhood, right? That's the reason why my drug of choice was alcohol, And when we, change, as you guys are trying to do here, change the way children are raised in our community, we're going to have problems with substances. And that's really like we're intervening in something that should be prevention with families and community. And so studies have shown this does not encourage drug use. It's going to happen. And what we have to do is be non-judgmental. We have to approach people with love and care. We can't isolate or disconnect. We've been taught so much in our society that tough love was the answer when some person was not behaving the way we expected them to behave. And that means to cut them out and shut them out of our lives. And tough love actually has caused so much trauma in our community. And right now, what we need is love and an abundance of grace. Like, we need to pour on grace on our people, pour on love on our people. We need to hug our children. I go to a lot of community meetings. And a lot of community meetings keep on talking about spanking of kids and whooping them. And the truth be told, those kids that were downtown recently, somebody's like, they just need a good whooping, a good spanking. I bet you if you interview every single person that was downtown doing that stuff, they have had a spanking or a whooping, right? They have been somewhere, punished. We punish violence with violence. Does that make sense? So whooping is not the issue. It's not the answer. And so we have to create different strategies of parenting, and I know it's hard because we're overworked, we're tired, we're full of anxiety as Black people, right? We're underpaid, overworked, and underappreciated. We ain't got no time for foolishness, which children bring to us. Love and foolishness, right? And so until we change those strategies, we will have substance use disorders. And I don't know what to do. Yeah.
I'm a little closer.
Yeah.
I think that you really hit it.
Yeah.
And we are also a part of another organization, Garfield Park Advisory Council.
Yeah.
And what's your name?
Fanya.
Fanya would have been great, George, for one of our trauma sessions, because you touched on what is unspoken.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you're in these, like we've been dealing with trauma workshops, and so that's the missing part that you're talking about, is addressing the trauma. And sometimes trauma comes in various degrees.
Yes, it does.
And you can't discount one that's way up here and one that you think is way down here. Because this one that might seem minute might be the trigger for that person.
Exactly.
And so, yes, I think maybe all of us or some of us have been a part of some kind of trauma.
Yes.
And it might not come out right away, or you might become depressed and don't know that it might be related to a trauma that you experienced young.
Yes.
So, yeah, I really like, how you address that, and I can't wait for you to come and communicate with our organization.
We're willing to come on out, so yeah. Another piece is there is a proposal to have an overdose prevention site or a center for harm reduction, and I think a center of harm reduction will, if we do that, then we start speaking to the pieces in our community about having less harm on our children and on our adolescents. Yeah.
Okay, now with that being said, obviously you guys can see there's a lot of information that we want to get out, a lot of resources we want to get out here. So we have individual community organizers, activists that are out there where we deal with gang violence, where we deal with opioids and heroin addictions and homelessness. And we could address all those issues right here at the Institute, and that's what we're here for. The T.R.I.P.S program, we go out all over the city, all over the town, different areas in Gary, because our people are hurting. We need to talk about these subjects more. We need to talk woman to woman, man to man, and talk about our family issues that cause these type of problems and cause traumatic harm to our children. We had some great people at Garfield Park Advisory Council trauma sessions with Books Over Balls, and that's one of the reasons why I worked with Wanda a while back, and we were talking about a lagoon project and a festival around the water in the park. So it's something that's subtle. It's something that we can all sit down and talk and bring to the table when we're in the park and talking about heroin, opioids, people that are homeless that are right there in the park.
Yes.
You see the needles, you see all of the stuff all throughout the park. And these are the people that suffer. And this is the community that we're talking about, and being around these individuals that's sitting right in the park, right at the police stations. They're sitting right there waiting for us to reach out and help and be a part of creating change for them as we speak. So we would like for you guys to work with us on our Lagoon Festival.
Okay.
That's coming up,
you.
actually it'll be coming up on the 16th of September.
All right.
Which is actually right around the corner. We would love to have you guys come out and be one of the speakers and talk about some of the things that are happening within our park, around the community of the park district, because there's opioids that's around
Yeah.
there. There's needles in every fishing dock.
Yes.
And I always talked about fishing and using our ponds and the lakes and the places that surround us for what it was meant to be. But if it's so much drugs and prostitution and certain things that's going around there because the people are hurting,
Yes.
until we create that change and get the mayor, the aldermen of those areas to start addressing some of those things and bringing the resources out that they could deal with that'll help change our children and have the entertainment factor that will bring the youth.
Yeah.
It's many of projects. Me and Wanda been over the weekend where we have our kids dancing and having fun, playing games, seeing resources and people that's out with their products and services that they want to offer. But we need to have something that's going to attract them, that's positive orientated, so it's not creating that violent mentality for them to want to pick up a gun, pick up a needle, and drown their fears and their life problems away because they've all been traumatized.
Yes.
We've been traumatized just with our music industry, losing so many individuals like Michael Jackson, Prince, James Brown, everybody. So it's still hurting us to not have positive music that we can reflect on. That'll take away the things that we need to hear that'll inspire us to be able to go out and promote good music. A lot of us resort to church music and things of that nature to get that spiritual energy or that power of the divine voice. But are the churches out there on the street corners helping us each and every day? Some of them are. Some of them are not until we have a death or something in the family. So we have to reach out to everyone and we have to call out our individuals. We're calling everybody out. So we had an event over the weekend that was calling out productions. We called out everybody that was meaningful in our communities to help bring about change, and we use positive music, the Michael Jacksons, Aretha Franklin, Biggie, Luther Vandross, and all these people that we would like to bring that same type of energy over into our park districts, around lagoons where we could barbecue, where we could talk, where we could see, and we could just communicate with our people that are in the neighborhoods and the community around the parks. Not only the community suffering, but the lakes and the fish and the ducks and the things that we eat and
All
put
of
in
nature.
our system.
Yes.
All of nature, all of humanity is suffering because we're doing the wrong thing to planet Earth. So if we look at some of the information that we talk about with healing the world, we are the world, you're another part of me and a part of this universe that we plan on creating for ourselves, we'll naturally get together and start loving each other and loving the God that we serve and bringing all of our energies and our power together to help one another so that we can help each and everybody, each in every part of the day. So we're also part of the Hope Foundation.
Yes.
I would love for you to help me bring people from the Hope Foundation and others and be a part of these forums and bring your people so they could talk about this in a way that we could structure the environment that we talk and put it on social media, put it on KNTV, and put it on other outlets where millions of people will see what we're talking about, and this room should be full with love, peace, and unity.
All right. Nice.
With that being said,
That was wonderful. I know.
and that's the plan that
Yes.
we need to be planning out
Yes.
as we go forward. I would love for you guys to get with Lavette and them and find out how we could structure some of those other organizations to be vendors.
Yes.
Because they should have vending stations out around the parks. All of the park district we have
Yes.
at our availability from various parks and various councils that's connected to Garfield Parks Advisory Council.
Nice.
Garfield Park is in the center.
Yes.
Garfield Park is in the empowerment zone. We're trying to empower individuals that are within our area, the Austin community, the West Garfield, East Garfield, Humboldt Park area, Douglas Park area, so we could spread that love out to the rest of the world.
Yes, the task force does cover East and West Garfield Park, Austin, North Lawndale, as well as Humboldt Park. So we are quite expansive.
Let's bring them all together and bring them right around what we're doing right here, so you can talk about
Excited.
those
We
issues.
will be here.
That's right, and bring other vendors as we go and talk to Sergeant Hawk and all
Yeah.
those people that's working with us to bring media and social media and awareness that we need to bring to our community, so they can't say that we're not helping build and create that energy that we need. And then we can also assure that we'll get people like Brandon Johnson to back what's going on in the city, because we'll come in force
Yes.
from all different communities. So we love you guys. We want you to be here. We want you to be a part of our next talk shows with woman to woman, man to man, and all of our family relationships. And we want to say what's on this flyer. We will be having a West Side Cultural Arts Night out at the park. And we're going to get together with Together We Heal. This is going to be September the 16th at 10 a.m. and it's going to go to 3 p.m. and hopefully we'll be able to sit down and have some after effects of that. It's going to be at 100 North Central Park, which is at Garfield Park, basically. That area, you'll see us over there by the Golden Dome. And we want you guys to save that date. And always should remember, this is going to be the Garfield Park Lagoon Cultural Fest.
Yes.
We're going to teach our culture how to come together,
I love
how to
it.
love, how to heal, how to create a plan from these things that we talk about at the Lagoon Fest to make a better, a more positive environment for not only nature, the animals that are within the park, and ourselves as well, all humankind and mankind. We love you guys.
Thank
and
you.
always remember, you are the missing link to being a part of these programs. Right here at Omnibus Roundtable, we have the Garfield Park Advisory Council, we have the Exodus Institute, and a host of other relatives and people that we have that will be part of creating this Lagoon Fest and the Westside Cultural Arts Foundation Council. They'll be there as well, and they're helping structure this. So reach out for the Garfield Park Westside Cultural Arts Center to be a part of our Lagoon Festival. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on the internet. You can find us on the Omnibus Roundtable in Chicago Communicated News Network. Bring your children here so they can learn how to be hosts of their own shows. They can learn how to be journalists. They can learn how to put the message out that will change the narrative of how they live and how they focus on their communities. And they should be a part of these meetings and creating them from our youth all the way up to our adults. We're over 5 generations of individuals that we have covering, from the baby boomers on out to the new generation that start with the computer and the laptops in their hands. So let's put it right there that they can see it, and they can't say they didn't see positive images. So we love you guys.
Thank you.
God
Thank
bless
you
each
for
and every
having
one of you.
Appreciate
And
it.
till next time, same bat station. And we'll see you there. We want you to beat us there.
All right, thank you.
All right? So we love you guys. Hi, and we're back. We're here with the Exodus Institute, and what we want to do is to teach and train our communities on how to be better individuals in the communities that they serve, to be better community activists, and to be part of the growing and the development that we need to show in our communities to create change in our communities. Now, we're here today with a lot of positive individuals, a lot of positive organizations that are around us. We have the Omnibus Roundtable here. We have the Westside Cultural Arts Council here that represents Garfield Park, and the Lagoon Festival that's coming up on September the 16th from 10 to 3 p.m. We want you to be out there in the park. That festival is going to be at 100 North Central Park, by the way, because it's something that's important that we should all know. I'm part of Global City Unity, the president of that, and we have a lot of other organizations that will be involved, that we will be inviting out to start the conversation of us talking man to man, woman to woman, and talking about our family relationships and what creates trauma in our families. Why we need to deal with that from a subject matter that it starts in the family, it starts in the home, it starts with how we develop and teach and train our children and everything. So as we deal with this, one second, I'm gonna just cut this off because I don't want my kids talking, and I don't want anything to interrupt us as we're going through talking about what God created for us to do and how he calls us out each and every moment of the day, and how he wants us to unite with our communities, and how you should be able to get this message, you to be able to come to some of these community forums, town houses, bring your kids, Bring the people that you love, because these are the people that we want to reach to talk about what traumatic things triggered what's in us to not love ourselves, to not be a part of what we wanted to do. Somebody taught us those type of issues. Somebody taught us those things. You know, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. It all was back in the day, and it's coming around full circle. Our kids don't just want reparations. They want to have the big payback and take and smash and grab and do some of the things that they think that they should be doing, because they're like, hey, what did we do? How did we support them? How did we show them love, peace, and how are we talking to them, telling them to go through the same situations and the same things we went through to change their lifestyles? But we can't show and put, our money where our mouths are. So we want to talk to other community activists that are out here that are preaching and teaching the word and trying to bring the community together, from grassroots individuals, the people that are out here all the time working in our environments and being a part of that social environment that we need to put here on our TRIPS program, television, radio, internet. We're talking about podcasting, publishing, and teaching our kids how to promote themselves and bring out literature and journalism so they can talk about what they need in their communities. We're teaching them in front of the camera, and we're teaching them in behind the camera, so they can put those issues out about how we should love our world, how we should love our environment, how we should heal ourselves, how we should be part of the healing and the wellness that need to take place on the west side of Chicago, in the Austin communities, in the West Garfield Park area, in the East Garfield Park area, in Columbus Park, Douglas Park, and the rest of the world. We go all over the universe. We started the other day at 2300 Jackson Street because we did a festival out there with Michael Jackson. And Michael Jackson, no matter what anybody may say about him, he talked about healing the world. He talked about uniting the world, being another part of God's universe. So let's start the conversation. Let's start the talks. Let's start talking man to man, woman to woman about relationships that we could build on to create those solid foundations that make the villages, that make the cities, that make the universe. Because we all are part of God's universe, we all are God's children, and we all are united if we all believe in the same God. What's the difference? If we all flesh and blood and you bleed just like I bleed, if we were Christians, the man that I looked at to say Father, he talked about worshiping the Father that's the creator of all things in the universe first, and then loving thy friends and neighbors as we want to be treated and loved by each other. Because if we can't do that, then how can we say we love something that we've never seen and don't love our friends and our sisters and brothers right here, and especially our own color? So let's talk about Willie Lynch. Let's talk about what made us become who we are. Let's talk about Sankofa, our African rites to passage, and how we go from the Canaanites and Kemet and African attire, and learn that we don't need braids and jewelry and all types of stuff, unless it's African attire maybe, that we can get back to the emeralds and the roots and the stones and the metalloids that we all should have, that bring energy and that bring power to our well-being. We're going to have a lot of those things right here at the Garfield Park Lagoon Festival that you can come in and be a part of and see and talk about some of the issues that we need to talk about. And remember, the Garfield Park Advisory Council is going to be a part of that. The Westside Cultural Arts Council is going to be help heading that. It's going to be a night out in the park, and it's going to be a Lagoon Cultural Fest. It's going to be September the 16th, and it's going to be from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And it's at 100 North Central Park in Chicago. Save that date, because we're going to start the talking points. We're going to have you come in and have other community members come in here and talk about these issues, so there's this ongoing. It's not just a one day. We should talk about this each and every day, because it takes a multitude of things that we need to have to change our mindset of our children and to educate them like we're trying to do here at this institute. So let's get together, let's participate in it, and let's be a part of it. Right now we're going to be talking man to man, and we have a couple of beautiful, handsome young guys here today. And we have some beautiful women that I said a little earlier, and we want to just talk man to man, woman to woman about our creation and how God wants us to participate with each other and unite our communities. Can you guys introduce yourselves, tell a little bit about what you're doing, how you got started, what organizations you work with, and what you think we need to have in our communities to build a better community and a better, safer environment for our youth.
I'm El Haji Dr. El Shabazz of the Nash family, and I founded the Metamorphosis Project at the 9/11. I grew up on the west side of Chicago, born in Arkansas. What we're trying to do is make people recognize their heritage from ancient Kemet. If many of you saw The Woman King, many of our people are just not learning about that history and culture. Our beautiful women that we have here today, they are Candace. Candace, that's for a queen out of Kush. They're known as vice reigns because if y'all are married to a viceroy. Your husbands have inherited their ancient Kemet culture and heritage. Pharaoh Moses ordained all of Kush to be sons and daughters of the king because the Asiatics had raided Africa and invaded slowly, just as we're being invaded today by people migrating into this culture, into Chicago. We know they MS-13. We represent other street groups on the street. And so we want people to understand that when these groups was formed under the Black Power movement, it had nothing to do with skin color. Black Power movement is just like the word Kemet. It means black land. It has nothing to do with the people, but the soil there is rich in dark color. And so that's what Kemet means. We are Kemetic people. We are from Abyssinia. That country is still there today. The conquerors named it Ethiopia, the Sudan. But those are not the names of those countries. In The Woman King, she was Ohozi, and they are still there. That's Benin, Africa. And Oyo is Nigeria. But it's amazing to me that young people and the teachers are not teaching people that. They assume that this is something that was happening in the past. It don't exist no more. Those cultures are not there, but they are still there.
Okay.
And because of this lack of education, because they want to preach religion to the young brothers and sisters on the street, and religion has the greatest war battle in the history of the world. As I was just explaining to this gentleman, you have Judaism, you have Catholicism, you have Protestantism, you have Islam. All these are separate entities in one religion because all of them claim to be children of Abraham. So that means Abraham worshiped one God and all of them worship the same God, except that they have religious creeds that man instituted. For one reason, if you look at the way the Bible or the Quran states how things goes, is that all of them claim to be separate entities and at war with each other, but you all taking the same road to get to the same kingdom. In Arabic, you say Allah. Even the Christians over there, when I was over there, they all say Allah because that's how they pronounce the name of God. It's the same thing as saying Yahweh, and Yahweh is the Hebrew form of saying it. Now, their religious book may be changed because of man's interpretation or spins they may want to put on it, or if some of y'all have ever read an apocryphal Bible with different books that they chose to eliminate out the Bible.
That's right.
So our children are not getting the full understanding of spiritual well-being or belief structure because some of the books are cut out.
Can't get
Okay,
it.
and who cut them out?
Right.
Okay, so now once they cut them out and they start teaching you, you fell into the Willie Lynch syndrome, and Willie Lynch syndrome, to break a brother was to beat him. And so, as things came around the 60s or 70s, beating your children, you didn't know it, but you was trained to beat your children, whether you knew it or not.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And you never get an understanding out of anybody by beating them.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because they don't understand why you beat them.
Right.
And so the young people fall into these groups because they find fathers, they find mothers, brothers and sisters. You don't help a child by kicking them out the house.
Okay.
You tighten them up and you punish them and you give them structure by taking them around. If there's nobody in your tribe to talk to them, then take them around some religious leader, some teacher or community activist, and have them talk with them and volunteer and clean up or something. Do something positive so he can feel that the community is his.
Okay.
These children don't feel the community are theirs because they are outcast by everybody. People see me, I got college degrees, went to T.R.I.P.S, Wayne State played football and all that, but people see you on the corner, they'll pass by, oh, that's just another game bang. But that's what you call us.
Okay,
And that's not who we are.
okay.
You know, we are defenders of our communities from Kemet. Our job is to make sure that the older people and the children can get back and forth to school safely. And that's why these groups were started. Now, like with any groups, sometimes some members go stray, but if a Catholic guy called Trench Coast Mafia go in and kill a whole church, you don't call that whole religious group a gang. So you call that. You call it T.R.I.P.S Mafia, but if you Puerto Rican or African American, then you call it a gang. So the children don't know or accept their Cushite heritage because we as adults allow society to do this.
Okay.
You see, there's no such thing as a white man, and there's no such thing as a black man. Myself, I'm a Nubian, and I'm from Abyssinia,
Okay.
okay? And we pronounce my name, my God, Didon, or El Shaddai.
Okay.
In the book of Job, El Shaddai is missing 31 times. That means the Almighty, you see? And so we try to tell them that, so when a child go out there and they hit us on the street, and they're like, well, why am I gonna listen to you? You're not even telling me the truth about history. I'm getting it out here on the street. So the streets get hold of them, then that leads to gangs, drug mentality.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they should have got this at home.
That's right.
You know, if I can ask anyone, do you remember what happened to King's family after his death? Do anybody here remember? I led the march for that, and Martin Luther King's mother was assassinated in 1974 while she played the organ at Ebenezer Baptist Church, and a white occult member said he did it in protest of all black ministers. You see, that hatred went so far that they was going to exterminate the person that brought forth King. But once again, it's our fault. Because, see, we run around and we celebrate birthdays and stuff like that. Once your child get 12 or 14, he's supposed to go through the rites of parole. That's when he's going into manhood. If you ever watched Roots in Jafar, Africa, that's what he was going through when he became a man. You see, as an adult, I shouldn't go, my mother's passed, but I shouldn't go and say, Mama, it's my birthday. What you got for me? My job, once I cross that 14 barrier and call myself a man, is to make sure on my birthday that I go clean my mother's house, take her a gift, and thank her for sacrificing her life to bring me forth into this world. You know, because she brought me through blood and sacrifice, pain and suffering.
Okay.
And here it is, I'm a grown man in prison or in school somewhere, and I'm calling my mama, telling me, what you got for me? Well, bring them to me, because Shabazz got something for you. Because it's time for young Nubian or African men or black men, whatever you want to call them, to stand up to be men. But they don't know how because ain't nobody told them. You keep babyfying them. It's your birthday. Here, I got a cake for you. He ain't going to wash dishes. Ain't dumb guy. He eat and run out the house. Mom, I'm gone. Okay?
Wow.
And so if we're not going to tell them, then who going to tell them?
Right.
You see, in 1621 is when they came up with the term black and white in Virginia. And what ended up happening is they found a great need for servitude because everybody was indentured served. Africans, Caucasians. That was under the House of Burgesses before the Continental Congress, as you know. Under the House of Burgesses, we was already voting. We was already in Congress. This is before the Continental Congress. But they don't tell people. They say, we giving y'all the right to vote. We marching, water hose dogs. We was little children. We all marching, doing all this. My aunt is Diane Nash, one of the founders of SNCC. And either way, our people have been struggling with this for years. And we still think they giving us something. We don't have a right to vote. That's on borrowed time. Every year, every 10 years or something, we got to vote on it. It should be permanent. And so the people in the South are saying, what they saying is, we don't want to sign it because the 13th Amendment or whichever one it was that came through for Emancipation Proclamation and all that stuff like that, that only affected the southern states. It didn't affect the northern states because the northern states say we allow them to vote. So the reason we can't get a permanent thing to vote now is because the South is saying the Constitution only affecting us and not affecting y'all in the North. So the only way we're going to sign on a permanent bill is as long as that Constitution will affect y'all also. And that's where the give and take is at. But see, we don't know these things, so we go around and say, man, I don't like that white so-and-so or that black so-and-so. But we showing our lack of education by doing so. They are Caucasians or Europeans that come from the Caucasus Mountains. You know what I'm saying? And we are Nubian people. The only people here that's Americans was the Native Americans that was here.
Okay.
Okay. Now, we say African American, but there's no place called Africa. America is named after America's Vespucci. This is not even the name of this country. And so people say I'm from America. I'm like, how? The guy that named it wasn't from here. It's just like saying you're a Christian, but Jesus was a Nazarite.
Right.
So you trying to tell your child to be a Christian, he looking at you, but Jesus was a Nazarite. So why ain't I a Nazarite?
Right.
Nazarites had long hair. They couldn't have nobody cut it. They couldn't have people touch the food that they eat and stuff like that. Only your mother or somebody in your tribe would touch your food that you eat.
Okay.
Somebody outside of that, you know. Anyway, so this is where Alfonso Alfred, one of the founders of the Holy City in Chicago, back in the days with Bobby Gordon, them started trying to teach people to get more in tune with their heritage. You know what I'm saying? Whether you claim the African American heritage or you take it back all the way to your ancestors, because you can't call yourself something that you're not. You know what I'm saying? So if you're from Kemet, that means you're a Kemetic person from the land of Cush, spoken of in the Bible.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But when they say other on the paper, we just check off black. Like you don't know your history. Like you don't know it's a library there to tell you where you're from. Yes.
Does Kush mean black?
It stands for Abyssinia. We are Abyssinian people.
But does it relate to black in any kind of way?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And I think that when I was a young person, I picked up my grandmother's Bible. And in the back of it, it showed the map of Africa.
Right.
But Africa was nowhere on there.
Right.
And it said, across the whole map, it said Kush.
Kush.
Very, very old Bible.
Right.
And so that's how I adopted saying that I was black.
Right.
Not because someone said it as explaining it from the dictionary, but from my experience.
Right.
And I think we were able to name ourselves and call ourselves because that's how man created his definition over the years.
Right.
At some point, he named himself.
Right.
And so the principle of Kujichagulia
Right.
is to name yourself. And so because we were taken from where we came from, and that is one of the reasons that we did start to adopt our own language, our own definition of ourselves. So I don't think it's so totally wrong. I really appreciate the knowledge and the explanations. But I think sometimes we become divided in why we call ourselves what we call ourselves.
Right.
So some things is really not an argument. It's just like you were saying, only the Native Americans were here. Based upon what my dad told me, I'm Choctaw. And that history of who the Native American is, right now, they're doing DNA tests and finding out that their bloodline is Eastern European. So we even have to identify who the original so-called Indians or the natives were to this land.
Right.
Because some of the studies that I've read show that slavery, and we were taken from here and shipped back to certain places. So it is definitely a moment of exposing, learning, and if we've been misdirected for over 400 years, then it is a lot that we have to discover and learn, and you know, and I've even done like the so-called DNA test, and the ancestry test, and my great-great-grandmother, when they wrote on the ancestry list, she was the only one that had Africa by her name. So, you know, I think it's a matter of embracing what we all are learning and what you're sharing, and so I appreciate your information.
Thank you. The thing about us using the term black, Once again, like I say, like James Brown say, you know, I'm black and I'm proud. Well, they took that word and made it into power. That's why it was the Black Power movement. I was known as Black Owl on the west side of Chicago, you know, and back then we was at war with the Continental Pimps by Cermak and the Devil Disciples. The Devil Disciples was a white motorcycle gang that we had to stop them from coming across Cermak and terrorizing the communities over in these areas, in Garfield Park, especially in the Holy City. And so people, young people come up and they think every time they hear disciple or black disciple that we at war with them, but that was never a such war. That was never. If you look on any news media, if it's a Puerto Ricans or African Americans or Nubians shooting each other or some kind of thing going on, they say it's gang related, but they never name a gang. You know why? Because us leaders never gave those orders. We're about trying to help people go to college and do the right thing. We don't want them to have to go to prison like we did. We had to make those sacrifices. They shouldn't have to. We fought to get in school and go to college. The only thing they did is they went in the school front door and went out the back. You see? And so there was no magnet to keep them rooted there, because they tried to ostracize all the people who end up doing the Black Power movement, from what they did with Fred Hampton to Bobby Seals, all these people like this. They don't bring them through to tell these things to the young people. They try to have meetings like this, but what we got to do is we got to go out and grab those young people off the corner and bring them into places like this. You see what I'm saying? So that the young people can share it with them, give them the opportunity to also speak and tell their truth about how they came up with it. Because see, if you look in the history book and look up Mr. and Mary Leakey, they found that the oldest remaining remains of any human being or humanoid on this country, on this planet, came from Olduvai Gorge around Lake Rudolph in Tanzania. This is Kemet. This is all Nubia. There's no people older than we are. And from there, we migrated and populated the world. Back during Pangea, when it was one continent, America and South America fit like a jigsaw puzzle to Africa. It's no wonder those people running around looking like Africans. That's why we find the pyramids that they just not finding up under all that foliage out in the rainforest and the Amazon rainforest. Now, our people always knew. Dr. Sawas, he always on ancient Egypt talking about, I wonder how did they build this pyramid? I wonder what was King Khufu and them was thinking. Well, he claimed to be Egyptian. If he was a true Egyptian, he would tell people, hey, don't disturb my ancestors at rest. That's not their ancestors. You see what I'm saying? They are Khazars that came out of Russia back into our land. That's why in the Bible they talk about doing the temple rebuilding of Nehemiah and all that. The reason that is because they're not the true Falashah. Falashah was a true Beta Jew. They tried to bury the church of Oxum underground. It's the church that they always talk about that's built in the rock in the ground. Well, these so-called rulers of the world buried the church because they didn't want people to know that they was already worshiping. So when they found that they had a Talmud and they was already worshiping under what they called Judaism, they were shocked. Now they call them legitate as lawfully returned. Just look up Falashah Beta Jew. You see what I'm saying? So now these people done took the motherland and put it in Vatican City. So you got to go see Pope. Pope is vicegerent on earth. His office name is Vicarius Filii Dei. And if you put it in Roman numerals, it come out to 666. You see? And so they stole our culture and religion and moved it there and called it theirs. And so that's why they had war about it, because you done stole something that don't even belong to you. So sure, Muhammad and them came along, but Muhammad worshipped the teachings of Jesus until he got the revelations in the cave. And the person he went to was Khadijah, who was an older woman, and Khadijah told him, you need to talk to my uncle. Her uncle told him, hey, these are revelations from God. Well, his uncle was a Christian who told him to write the Quran. So they don't teach that. See, they want you to have that divide, that hate or love. You know what I'm saying? Just like they want our houses to be broke apart. You see what I'm saying? People do wrong. We got to learn to forgive as family and try to move on as family. You see what I'm saying? But we can't, because the religions rule the world. And as long as religion is divided, the family's going to be divided. You see? And so
there's a definition that I learned that the word religion, the word religion in Latin means hold back.
Okay.
And so I think that we are focused on faith, on love, on family, you know, because sometimes when we do get sort of bogged down in definitions and words and, you know, because I asked my elder aunt who's gone, and I was talking to her about religion, and she was saying that, hey, listen, when the sun rises and the moon sets, we know that's God.
Right.
When the leaves come on the trees, you know, we know that's God. And so the explanations and the knowledge is key. But I have this word called I am a abo, because sometimes people argue about who they are, and so indigenous you're gonna have to edit that, Martha. You're gonna have to edit that. Okay, call the name. Call the name.
Tony.
Tony. No snoring.
Okay, so there's a word that I use called I am a abo. I am a abo, which means indigenous, aboriginal, melanated, African American, original black, a black original. And so I thought about it because when you put all black folks in one room, they're going to tell you all different things.
Right.
And so that's sort of like division. So there's a song that I've put to it, but the word is I am a abo, because then that way it's all about the melanated.
Right.
And then, you know, you say Kemet, but that's original.
Right.
You know, that's us as original people. And so religion it's not an argument with me, because you're gonna argue forever.
Right.
And so we just know who we are and come together, as George was saying, and unify. So we have to unify under what we know.
Right.
And agree to disagree, but then understand that I can learn from you, you can learn from me.
Exactly.
So that's it.
But see, that's my point. It's just like being in Melanesia, down by Oceanesia. The closer you are to the prime meridian or to the equator, the darker the skin complexion.